Well, a number of things. As I've always said, I think that the reaction to it is overblown. I think that, and I think it's been proven that the models were way off. The computer models were just inaccurate. There was a study done recently at Stanford University, which is a leftist Harvard of the West, you might say. Harvard is plenty leftist itself. But I mean, it's not some sort of right-wing, conspiracy theory study. The study was done in Santa Clara County, which is the San Jose County in California, and they concluded from their study that the number of infections were 50 to 85% higher than the number reported. Infections. Now, if that's true, and I would say that's a fairly authoritative and objective study. If that's true, that means the death rate is no worse than that of a common flu. And I also saw today, just this morning, that the very, very high percentage of those dying from it are people with diabetes and obesity and high blood pressure. These constitute most of the fatal cases, and I don't want to be insensitive to those people, but I'm just saying that, is this really worse than an average bronchial flu? Is it worse? And I think there's a lot of doubt about it. I think there's a great deal of many questions that need to be asked about just the information that we have received about this. Secondly, there is always a proportion between deaths that are tolerated and the common good. And I point out the 40,000 deaths on the road last year of totally innocent people in many cases, people just driving their cars. 40,000, which exceeds the number of deaths of coronavirus so far, which could have been prevented by drastically reducing the speed limits. Also, every year there's a flu season. If we were to lock down every year, we would prevent, I think there were 34,000 deaths in the 2018-19 flu season. It was in the 30,000s. We could prevent a lot of those by locking down, by shutting down the economy, by social distancing and masks and all the other thing. We could prevent a lot of deaths, but there's always a proportion between the common good and a certain amount of tolerated deaths, and we don't even know when this thing will be over. We might start up the economy and then it comes back on us. We might just have to let this thing go through our countries, take its toll, and move on. Because most people have very minor symptoms as a result of it. Most people do. I mean, it might be a terrible tragedy for many, many people, but we may not be able to do anything about it. And I think the best thing to do about it is to put China in a cocoon, to build a diplomatic, commercial, and technological wall around China, whereby we have nothing to do with them. We never hear from them. They never hear from us. We treat them like we treat Iran or Cuba, that they are completely out of our lives, that we make it illegal to manufacture anything in China, that we cut off trade from China, period. And those hardships I would gladly put up with, in order to free this country from the plague of China. Just that evil, communist, wicked government that has given us so much trouble. I mean, look at what it's done to us. And that country needs to be set aside, and hopefully their citizens will figure out what has happened to them. We have built that country up by all of the manufacturing that we do and all of the things that we buy from them. You can't put your hand on anything practically that isn't made in China. And what if war breaks out? Where is our manufacturing? And war could easily break out with China. If they attack Taiwan, do you think we're going to sit by? They're already having exercises in the strait by Taiwan. I mean, they're going to poke us eventually, and they might do that very thing after this coronavirus. So I mean, to me, that's a big thing that needs to be done, is the isolation of China as a country.